Hello and welcome to episode 1199 of The Sleeper and the Bust. It is Monday, July 24th. I'm your host, Paul Sporer, joined this morning by Justin Mason. Justin, good morning, sir.
Good morning. How you doing?
I'm doing very well, and I appreciate that very upbeat intro because I know you're way more tired than that. I know you're full of crap on that, is what I'm trying to say. But how was the weekend?
Weekend was good, man. It was hot here, but we got the pool, so that helps kind of keep us a little bit cool and not hot like it has been in other areas of the country. So,
Mm-hmm.
or how it usually is here. I mean, we've had maybe a week's worth in total of 100 degree or like 95 plus degree days. Which is insanely cool. And like, I think it's supposed to get back down into the 70s later this week, which
That's
is
that's
insane
wild.
for here. So I don't know if that means we're just gonna have a really hot fall. Like if we're gonna like 2017 when we had all the fires and stuff, we had like 100, 20-degree September. So I'm like hoping that's not what's gonna happen. But so
Yeah, we
far,
don't want that.
I'm enjoying this kind of mild summer.
Yeah, we definitely don't want that. Mild summer doesn't exist here in Texas. We're getting the
Hmm.
heat as you would expect. It's all right. I can deal with it. I like the heat over the cold. Doesn't mean I don't get sweltering when it's absolutely punishing out there. But I'm excited to talk some baseball. I know you guys talked on yesterday on Sunday about some free agent stuff. I see your boy Sal Frelick there. You're in the Frelick fan
Hmm.
club. Does that mean that you had some pickups of him?
Yeah, like I wasn't overly aggressive on anybody, mostly because I don't have enough fab to be overly aggressive.
Same. That's why I didn't really get anybody.
I mean, I tried to get Encarnacio Strand in a number of leagues. Only got him in one league where I spent 161 on him in a OC where I still had 350, and the
Okay.
backup bid was $17.
OCs are truly insane.
Insane. Yeah.
You never
Oh.
have any idea. So, you went for it. You covered the guy that was in front of, or,
Mhm.
closest to you, and you got your guy and you still have plenty of money.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, it's grinding time. Like Jason and
Yes.
I were talking about on Sunday. Like, uh, I remember being in first place in my main event at the beginning of July last year, and everything falling apart. And so, like, I'm doing everything I can, and everybody should be doing everything they can right now to hold on to their leads or grind out victories if you're not in the lead right now. So, stay vigilant right now. This is the time.
Absolutely. People are going to start shifting to football. We talk about this a lot. That creates
Mhm.
opportunities. People's money's running out. That creates opportunities. It does make bidding, it can make bidding a little bit tougher, though, because it's not straightforward. You can be looking at an
Mhm.
article that says this guy's going to go for 48, but then in your league, based on money, he ends up going for 12, and that can be pretty difficult. But you can start getting bargains. I would start downshifting bids just in general. Obviously, if you're going for a guy and you desperately need him, that's one thing. But more so than not, as we turn the calendar to August next week, you should bring down those bids. Try to save yourself some money for that stretch run. I have ascended to fourth in my main, but it's going to be a long time before I
Mm.
make another standings change, if I do, because I'm at 115, or I'm at 88 and a half, and 115 is the next standings jump. The top three teams in my main event are all top 54 teams, 26th, 52nd, and 54th. So, got my work cut out for me, but I'm definitely grinding. Let's talk some news notes, three up, three down, and then some surprising hitter ranks. I want to ask you where you think these guys are ranked at their respective positions, and then blow your mind with their actual ranking. Let's start with Yanni Chirinos. Now, this is not a big mover and shaker changing the news. First off, there just wasn't a ton of news, but also he was DFA'd over the weekend and promptly picked up. Tampa Bay said, see ya. And Atlanta said, welcome. Yanni Chirinos going to Atlanta. Michael Soroka's optioned. Anytime a premium team is picking up somebody, even when they're picking up somebody from another premium team in the Rays, that's going to have a little bit of interest. Probably just like NL only for Yanni Trinos right now. I wanted to like him. I tried him out a few times. 4.02 ERA, sure. 125 WHIP, sure. Both of those pretty solid. 12% strikeout rate, and an 8% walk rate. 8% walk rate on his face is fine, but when Yanni Chirinos only backs it up with a 12% K rate, Justin, that's pretty shitty. So
Mm-hmm.
I have a hard time getting super excited, but the fact that he went to Atlanta means I had to bring it up. What do you think of Yanni Chirinos?
It is amazing to me how deep Tampa Bay's pitching goes. They have lost every pitcher possible this year.
And they're cutting guys.
And they're somehow cutting a viable arm. As much as I don't love Yanni Chirinos from a fantasy perspective, he still has a 4 ERA like this year in
It surprised me.
62 innings. So it was just surprised that when you told me that, because we were looking for news, couldn't really find very much this morning. And when you told me that just happened, I was like, whoa, that is ridiculous that Tampa Bay can afford to let go of arms. And you look, their rotation, it's 4 deep right now, but it's damn good still, in spite of losing 2 of their top tier guys in Springs and Rasmussen. So I mean, I don't care about Chirinos outside of trying to like win seek in a game. Because he just does not get enough strikeouts. And I mean, this isn't a great park change for him. So but yeah, I mean, it's fine. I also wonder, will Atlanta do something to bolster that rotation at the deadline?
You could certainly see it. Fried is out on rehab, so that helps.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything Chirinos could do to get back on the radar in more of 15s? He used to be kind of a 19 to 20% strikeout guy, which is still pretty low for today's era, but a lot more viable than 12 freaking percent. In fact, he was 21% in 241 innings coming into this year. If he creeps back up there, is that interesting, or are you just
I just don't see it happening. I mean, he's got a 6.8% swinging strike rate.
That's so bad.
92% zone contact. Like, it's like he just makes his living off of trying to induce weak contact.
244 BABIP saving Yanni Chirinos right now. As for Soroka, easy cut everywhere. Like even the crazy deep leagues where you might have been holding him.
I mean, Soroka strikes out a few more guys than Chirinos, but there's just not enough total strikeouts to matter in fantasy, especially in a short, season left, right? I mean, in a full season, you can go, hey, maybe he's going to give me really good ratios and he'll at least compile the strikeouts. But now there's just not enough time for him to compile. So, again, he's another one of those guys, if and when he comes back, he's a win-seeking type, streamer. Hey, I really need a win this week, and he's got a really good matchup type.
I think that's really the only thing I could get was Soroka. You're right. He's kind of like a Chirinos plus, which in this instance just isn't that viable. Nathan Eovaldi's going to get his start skipped this week. He is coming off of a 6 scoreless outing against Tampa Bay, but they want to be cautious. Velo's down. Strikeouts are way down. He was trending as like the number 1 starter for a while, Nathan Eovaldi, and he still ranks very high. He does have a 3 ERA in his last 5 starts, so you're not freaking out from that standpoint, but it's with 19 Ks in 30 innings. It's a 16% K rate, and he has 15 walks with it too. So the skills have been wobbly. The results have kind of masked that for Eovaldi. The Rangers are going to give him a break this week. They figure, hey, we can maybe get some opportunity here to kind of skip him. Cody Bradford looks like he'll fill in. What do you think about Nathan Eovaldi getting skipped here? Obviously, we're not sitting him or we're not cutting him, I should say. Does he get a start this weekend? They're skipping the Houston start. Are we worried that he might get a start at San Diego, so we have to put him in the lineup? Or are you just going to take the whole week off with Eovaldi and get back at it next week against Miami?
Oh, that is a really tough question because, I guess their first 3 games are in Houston, so you don't have to worry about any of those games getting
that's
postponed.
when he was scheduled. That's the one that's pushed back.
And his last 3 games are in San Diego, and if you've ever been to San Diego, it is like 81 degrees and sunny, 11 out of 12 months, right? So, like, I guess you don't really have to worry about like a postponement in any of the games that would push him back out of that last start. So I assume he will make the start, and I guess so. You are probably still starting him. This is really concerning, though, right? Like,
Yes, Eovaldi, the velo down big time. By the way, I should point out, it's just the probable grids that are saying he's going to start on the weekend. Nothing in the news tidbit says that Eovaldi is going to start on the weekend. It
mm,
just says that the Houston start is skipped. It doesn't say it's pushed back to the weekend or anything. So I actually don't know if Eovaldi is getting the start. And that velo was down big in the last game. I mentioned that he survived just fine, but it was 93.1, which is over 2 miles an hour lower than Eovaldi's season average of 95.5.
well, and 2 starts ago, he was at 96 too. So in
It's
just
a
two
quick
starts, he's
turn.
gone down 3 miles an hour.
That's
Uh,
nuts.
I mean, this is the most amount of innings Evaldi. Oh no, I guess he threw 182 in 2021. So, but I mean, he's got a long history of breaking down, of
Very long.
not being able to stay healthy. Uh, I've already said a few times I would have already sold him, try to turn him into some hitting or something like that because you've just
Hmm.
gotten so much goodness. I think at this point you could probably still try to sell high, but you're just not able to sell as high as you were, 2 or 3 weeks ago. So
Yeah, and if you're selling now, it's coming on some down news. You could probably
yeah,
still get something pretty good, but you might want to wait it out with Eovaldi and try to get another high. But yeah, see if you can dig and find news about the weekend start. But otherwise, just park him for the week and see what's up with Eovaldi coming back next week. He's been so great this year. You can't really complain about it. Like, you got 123 innings of a 2.69 ERA. If that's literally all you got, that would be a win wherever Eovaldi went. So that's
yeah.
totally fine. Brandon Pfaadt returns for the D-backs. He pitched in Cincinnati yesterday, went quality start, 6 innings, 3 runs, but all 3 runs were solo shot homers. So that's kind of, douses the start a little bit if you were trying to get excited. Brandon Pfaadt was somebody we liked coming into the year. There was a lot of excitement about him. He's been a pretty big disappointment. He has an 8.81 ERA and a 164 WHIP in 31 and 2/3. That is a minuscule sample. Is there anything you're seeing in Pfaadt to get you excited for a stretch run here?
Not for a stretch run. I still think he's gonna be a pretty good pitcher, in the future. I don't know that he is gonna have a rotation spot in a week. I think the
Yeah,
trade
they could
deadline is a
improve.
week from. They should improve. They
I
need to
agree.
improve that rotation. Like Tommy Henry and Brandon Pfaadt should not be relied upon. Like your rotation is not good when it is a big hit to lose Zach Davies to the IL. And they're going to get Merrill Kelly back here this week,
That'll help.
but I think they need to add at least one, if not 2 starters at the
Hmm.
deadline. And so I think there's a pretty good chance that Fott is back in the minors and probably stays there the majority, if not the rest of the year. So I no real interest. I did not put any bids on him in Fab this week. He's too volatile with a command.
Yeah, and it leads to homers, which is the biggest
Hmm.
whip, ERA killer you can find. I wonder if they should keep him up and put him in the bullpen though. If and when they do reinforce the rotation, maybe let Fought, and that wouldn't be fantasy relevant necessarily because I don't think they're going to close him. But I
No.
think they should consider keeping him on the team that way, even if they do go out and get a handful of starters. A handful, I mean like one or two. Your
I
boy
mean, they
Brady's.
don't need to, like, from an innings perspective. I mean, he threw 166 innings last year.
Oh
Like,
yeah, I
he's
just
not
mean
even
if they
close to that yet.
replace him. It's
No, I agree. I know what you're
more if
saying.
they
I'm just,
get if they get two guys to replace Henry
but
and Flop.
usually we talk about like young pitchers moving into the bullpen for the playoff run because they've had so many innings, but they still want them on the roster. Like
Yeah,
Fott is, it's a matter of his ability to execute, which has been a real problem.
yes, absolutely been troublesome. A lot of problems executing for this guy as well. Your boy Brady Singer, but not as much recently. And a fantastic outing in Yankee Stadium over the weekend. 6 innings, 2 runs, 9 Ks. Now going into Yankee Stadium when Judge isn't hitting for that team has been a lot easier. It's still good though because he wasn't really taking on anybody of note. He's looked better of late. You look at his last 5 starts, there's the 13 hit, 6 earned run dud at Cleveland. But even including that, I'm not taking that out. The last 5 starts are a 366 ERA, 341 FIP. for Brady Singer. Are you back in on your guy? It's 3 or 4 Ks in each of the 4 starts before the 9K outing. So that's an interesting spike. Is there anything here, or is this just a good start taking advantage of a crap offense?
I mean, I think it's mostly taking advantage of a crap offense. But the intriguing thing about Singer over these last 3 starts is we're starting to see increased use of his changeup.
Okay.
You know, the biggest criticism on Singer, and the thing that I probably ignored a little bit too much coming into draft season, is the fact that he's a 2-pitch guy. And I mean, the majority of the year, I mean, he's got a 6% usage on that change. Well, to these last 3 starts, he's close to 10%. If he can move that above 10%, then we might have something here a little bit. But I don't believe it yet. You know, and unfortunately, the Royals suck, so it's not like you're win seeking a lot with him, anyways.
No, he didn't even win that game. He didn't even win the Yankees game.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think for this year, I'm mostly. I mean, I dropped him in the majority of the leagues where I was able to drop him. And so, yeah, I didn't get this start. I'm okay with that. But I am watching closely to see if he can continue to kind of increase that 3rd pitch usage. So that way we've got something a little bit more stable coming into 2024.
Yeah, then we can dive back in next year on Brady Singer when everyone kind of fades away from it. We'll see. Let's play a little 3 up, 3 down with some pitchers. Let's start with All-Star Michael Lorenzen. 13.7, 13 2/3 scoreless innings since the All-Star break. 2.08 ERA in his last 6, with 5 of the 8 earned runs coming in Coors. So he has the one bad start, but Coors Field, you're not really freaking out over anybody having trouble there. Is Lorenzen 12-team viable down the stretch here? He's got a 3.49 ERA, 1.09 WHIP on the season. Yeah, the Ks are low, but everything else is working there. I know there could be a wrench thrown in this if he gets traded somewhere, and we'd have to kind of reassess there. But as it stands right now with Michael Lorenzen, is he somebody you run out in 12s pretty consistently?
I wouldn't necessarily say consistently. I mean, I think like he's got a 2-star. Oh no, he doesn't have a 2-star week this week, does he? He does have a 2. No, he's gone to the Angels on Wednesday. So
yeah, that's right. He gets Angels. Skubal and Erod get 2 starts,
so
because
he's going to line up for a 2-start potentially next week. He has been really good against bad teams and really awful against good teams. And so I still think that I think he should be rostered in every format. I don't know that he needs to be, played every start. I think you've still got to pick your starts with him. And more than likely he's going to get traded at the deadline, and where he lands will determine a lot of his kind of future value. And so he's a guy that I've been saying sell high on, in my sell high articles.
No.
Get something for him, I think. I mean, what stadium is he going to go to? I mean, I guess if he could go to Baltimore, like that would be a pretty good, or even Arizona. Nice. Arizona's a really, nice place.
I think Arizona would be a pretty interesting fit for Lorenzen.
Yeah.
I don't like trading with Arizona, though, as a Tigers fan. They ripped us off for JD Martinez. They're going to give us
They've ripped off a few guys, yeah.
Yeah, they're going to give us some crap for Lorenzen. But in fairness, I don't expect Lorenzen to return anything major. But I think there's some spots he could go, We talk about Tampa Bay just churning through talent, getting rid of Chirinos. They could get a Lorenzen. I could still see them acquiring arms, even though they let Chirinos go. It's because they just don't have any confidence in him, I guess. So we'll see how that goes. But Lorenzen's been great. I agree with you. I'm not necessarily just turning him loose in 12s with Lorenzen. I am still being very considerate of what I do with him. But my range is a lot more open than it was coming into the year. And just to underscore your point about the good team, bad team thing, 2.02 ERA against sub 500 teams with an 0.85 WHIP, and a 5.87 1.49 ERA WHIP combo against good teams. So it is pretty much that cut and dried right now. You got to be careful, and that includes obviously the Colorado start on the negative end, or on the sub 500 end, and he still does very well against them. So that's Michael Lorenzen. Let's talk Kenta Maeda, who's actually looking pretty solid since returning from the IL. 273 ERA, 103 whip, and 26% strikeout minus walk. Guy we've been a big fan of over the years, but coming back from TJ this year, don't really know what to expect. I wasn't really going out trying to get him on waiver wires, but he's been mostly good since returning. How do we feel about Kenta Maeda? He started the season poorly. Has a 10 ERA start on a 10 earned run start on his ledger, which is 10 of the 24 earned runs he's allowed all year. So keep that in mind when you're looking at the 5.10 ERA. And that probably obscures how good he's been since returning. Is Maeda on your 10 and 12 team waiver radar?
He is for this week. He's got a 2-start week versus Seattle and Kansas City. You don't get much better than that. So
that's really nice.
I do worry about his ability to go deep in games and stay healthy, but you're playing matchups with him. And I mean, I think, the Twins sending down Louis Varland gives Maeda a lot of rope. And they've also got a nice little, lead in the division, 3-game lead over the Guardians, 7 games over the Tigers. So, I think you're rolling with him in good matchups. I don't think he's a matchup-proof kind of guy. I don't think he's the guy he used to be. But, I mean, 10 strikeouts per 9 is pretty awesome for Maeda. And
are you sure he's not the guy he used to be? 29% K rate, 7% walk. That's for the whole season. That's not just this 5-start run. I kind of think Maeda is pretty close to the guy he's been.
Yeah.
So I co-sign what you're saying, but I might add a little bit more to it and say that he is kind of matchup proof. Not fully, because I think in a 10 team, and based on the way you acquired Maeda, 10s and 12s, there's worlds where you definitely have pitchers that are as good or better than him. So you don't have to just blindly start him, but I think you can lean toward yes more often than not, even in shallower formats for Maeda.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, he's had a really soft schedule since returning. He has, I mean, 1 game at Atlanta, which is not as soft, and I mean, he had a pretty good start, but it wasn't like as good as the other starts. But the other starts were at Detroit, home versus Kansas City, at Oakland, at Seattle. Like
that's pretty, really, yeah.
That's about as soft.
And you mentioned that the schedule's going to stay soft this week.
Yep.
It'll be Arizona next week, which isn't super easy, but it's also not super tough. They don't kill everybody, but they are good against righties. But yeah, I think you're rolling with Maeda. I think you should pick him up. I think he's going to have a lot more availability in shallower formats than he should. Let me look that up real quick and see what kind of 12-team availability he has over at Yahoo. 53% rostered, so plenty of availability for Maeda. I'm scooping him. And then our final one on 3UP is Kodai Senga. And the main reason I wanted to bring him up is he has a 2.42 ERA, 1 flat whip with a 29% strikeout minus walk in his last 4 with just a 7% walk rate. He had 13% walk rate coming into that 4-start run. I'm more spinning it forward for next year with Senga. How have you viewed him this year, his first year stateside, and do you think that he's going to be someone you're interested in next year as a guy to draft because he was kind of untrusted this year, so it was a cheap price? He's SP 33. Do you believe in Kodai Senga?
I do believe in Senga. I'm very interested to see what the Mets do. Are the Mets
as far as this season?
As far as this season and then going into next season. I wonder with the new ownership, are they just going to be the team that throws money, at every single free agent every year? And what do they do with Verlander and Scherzer here at the deadline? Are they looking to try to turn them into a bunch of prospects, especially because they can eat money. This is a team that does not care. And if Verlander and Scherzer become available at the deadline, and they're willing to go, hey, we'll eat a big chunk of their contract just to get a lot of prospects and stuff back. Those become the prizes of the deadline, not the Jordan Montgomerys and guys like that of the world.
Lorenzens.
Michael Lorenzens, yeah, exactly. But as far as Senga goes, I'm very intrigued by him, considering how good of a job he's done at limiting walks in his last few starts. I mean, last 4 starts, he has not given up more than 2 walks in any start. He's getting strikeouts. The one thing I will say, though, is he's had a lot more days off in between these starts than he normally would. And you wonder how much that plays into it, because in Japan, they've got the extra day off.
Once a week, yep.
Yeah, everybody goes once a week as opposed to once every 6 days. So I do want to see how he kind of finishes down the stretch. Like, is he able to keep it going without these days off? But this is a very, very intriguing and interesting kind of stretch of starts. I still want to see him do it for a longer period. I mean, we're talking about a guy who's had 5 walks per 9 almost the entire season.
That's been a big deal for Senga. I think you highlight a great point with the extra time off, and you can see that throughout his schedule. The more time off he gets, it usually correlates to the better starts, and then when he's on standard rotation, that's where a lot of his worst starts fit in. There's an occasional gem in there, but that's a great call, and they might not be able to just give him that extra time down the stretch. So be careful with Senga. But he's put up a good first year so far, barring just a collapse in August and September. It looks like it's going to be a nice debut. And I think he's going to have some heat in the market next year, especially if he finds a way to really bring the K's down over the final 2 months.
Next 2 starts, he gets home versus Washington and at Kansas City.
Oh, that's a great setup.
Yeah, so I mean, like, his numbers are going to look really, really good as we start getting to the beginning of August.
Absolutely, that's a great way to stay hot for Kodai Senga, especially with those walks. Let's go 3 down. Mitch Keller, back-to-back duds, 7.04 ERA in 4 July starts. His homer rate is up 2x in the last 11 starts to 1.5 homer 9, 0.7 in the ones before that. 5.51 ERA as well. So you're looking at recent struggles, a little bit more elongated struggles when you spin it backwards with Keller. Now, there are great starts mixed in that run. I don't want to pretend that this has been an 11-start slog where nothing has gone well. It's actually kind of bookended by some trouble if you look at the 11 starts in question, where the first 3 were kind of mediocre, then a really good run of, let's see, that is 6 starts, and then the 2 duds recently. So there's been ups and downs, but the recent ones, 5 homers in those 2 games against Cleveland and the Angels. The home run rate is the concerning thing for me with Mitch Keller. Is the breakout being stifled? Because he's now over a 4 ERA at 4.01, which is higher than last year, but the whip is down considerably from 140 to 120. Where do you currently stand on Keller in the midst of this breakout-ish year?
Can I say he is who he's always been? Like, this is, like, I know
but he's not, though. But he's not. His core skills are way better this year, right? 25% K, 7% walk. Those are both career bests by a lot.
Yeah. Here's the thing. Like, if we had, like, flipped, we reversed, like, the starts on the season, like, this would just feel like a regular Mitch Keller season, right? Like, if he started off with the
He has a 120 whip. You are verifiably wrong. He has a 147 career whip and 120 this year. How can you say that that's the same guy? I think you're trying to poo-poo him because he didn't call him or something. I don't know. I
got Mitch Keller on a couple teams. It's not like
so you were in a bit. I will say this. You'd have a better argument with me if you were saying, look, 9% swinging strike rate. How can I bank on the 25% K rate with that? He's up 0.2 from last year's swinging strike rate. So that's nothing.
So since the beginning of June, so we're talking last 9 starts.
Yes.
What do you think his strikeout rate and what do you think his whip is?
Probably not good, because I gave the 11 start streak that isn't good. But you don't invalidate everything.
I'm not saying you invalidate. I say this is a guy that is shown that he is volatile. He's going to have really good stretches, and he's also going to have really ugly stretches, and you have to be able to kind of live with both. And if we had the really ugly stretch to start the season, this would feel like just another Mitch Keller season as opposed to an actual breakout. He's got a 135 whip. 135 whip since the beginning of June,
and that's 19% strikeout rate. That's still 5 points better than last year. Last year he had a 140 whip. That ERA was deceptive. I get where you're angling, especially because I go back to that.
I'm not saying there hasn't been improvements.
Okay, but
there definitely have been improvements.
It feels like you were saying that.
I still think he is generally the same guy that he's always been, which is a guy who will go on really nice runs. He's protected by that really nice ballpark.
That helps.
And then he's also going to go through stretches in which he loses his command, loses control. The velocity is not an issue. He's throwing 96 last game.
He turned that up last year and that clicked. Now this year, the sweeper and everything, he does take advantage of his home park, as you mentioned. The whip's way better there. So is the ERA.
He's got inconsistent mechanics, and
get
lefties
out though, I think it might be more something where he needs to figure out a pitch for lefties, because he's got a pretty big platoon split, over 200 points, with 11 of the 16 homers coming against lefties as well. I think that's part of the problem too. So let's spin it forward for the rest of this year right now. Keller's been somebody who has been a set it and forget it for a while now. Does that change at all based on this recent run? Are you now maybe sitting him, and if so, what formats and what type of matchups for Mitch Keller? By the way, this week, I should point out before you answer, he has Philly at home and then a trip to Milwaukee next week. Me personally, I'm starting both of those in every format.
I think I'm probably sitting the Philly start, but I'm definitely starting the Milwaukee
at
start.
Home.
Yeah,
you got to start.
Philly's starting to get hot.
Philly's not bad. Got to start Mitch Keller at home. I do not think there's a league set where you can sit him. Maybe a 10 if you just got a boss rotation, but 12s and 15s, I don't think you can find a sit. Maybe.
It depends on your other options. I think it's in the conversation.
I don't think it's in 15. It's in the conversation. You don't got anybody better than Mitch Keller.
Yeah, no, I think
if you do, you're winning your league. Like you're in first place, which is great. So then maybe you do sit him, but anywhere else, I don't think so. In a 15. Let's talk Emmet Sheehan. Now, Dodger rookies this year have not really panned out overall, right? Gavin Stone, major flop. Michael Grove, pretty big flop. Bobby Miller, solid, but certainly not game-changing. 4.28 ERA, 1.19 WHIP in 10 starts. Not bad. But then Emmet Sheehan, 6.75 ERA, 1.47 WHIP. He's been bad. So 3 bad and 1 decent as far as those 4 go. We're looking at Sheehan, 3 straight duds. Where are we rostering Emmet Sheehan?
We're not.
Nowhere?
Yeah, I mean, you should not have a usable start for him the rest of the season. He's going up against Cincinnati here this week.
Definitely
You're not
don't want that.
You don't. I mean, I know it's not in Cincinnati, but the Dodgers have been a top 5 ballpark in terms of power and home runs given up this year. So, and then he's out of the rotation because the Dodgers are trading for somebody, and I can't imagine Sheehan is in the rotation. Maybe he moves to the bullpen and he can strengthen the team that way, but he's getting dropped after this week. Yeah. And so, I think he still has an intriguing future, but he also could just turn into a guy that is a middle reliever.
He could. We're not there yet, though. I agree with you in the short term. In the long term, I still think all of those guys that I mentioned, Miller, Stone, Grove, and Sheehan, are intriguing in various degrees, with Miller and Stone being up at the top, and then Grove and Sheehan being a cut below them. I kind of see it as a couple
I'm starting
players.
Michael Grove in my main event this week.
I don't blame you.
Versus
I like it.
Toronto and versus Cincinnati.
Yeah, both at home. He's been doing a few things. It's a little nerve-wracking, but I like it in a 15 teamer. I'm with you on that.
I may end up chickening out at some point
in favor of.
That's the problem. It's putting AJ Puck in my lineup or hoping that Yuri Perez makes a start this week.
Speaking of, I almost brought up Yuri Perez randomly. So you're obviously still holding him. Should you be?
I think so. He's got to be coming back, and he's going straight back into the rotation when he does. So
that's what we think. But man, I don't know. I am nervous.
He's too good in a 15-team league to drop onto the wire, I think.
It feels really difficult to pull the trigger on cutting a name that has a 2.36 ERA and a 1.09 WHIP, and the only reason he's not pitching is by choice of the team.
He's got to be coming back. They're in a playoff race. If they were the Marlins of last year, then I'd be like, yeah, you might be a cut because the Marlins aren't competitive. If they even bring him back, is he even a rotation piece? But they're not trying to make a playoff push with Johnny Cueto in that rotation.
Hey, I was just about to bring this up. You shut your mouth. Johnny Cueto looked brilliant. I'm not even joking. He was awesome against Colorado. It's Colorado. 6 innings, 1 run on 2 hits, a walk, 8 strikeouts, bunch of swinging strikes. Gets Detroit this week. I still ride with Cueto. I'm gonna be recommending him in the deeper leagues this week against Detroit.
Edward Cabrera gets his next 2 starts are at Tampa Bay and then home versus Philly. There you go. After that start, I think Yuri Perez is back next week.
All right, we'll keep tabs on. They only have 5 games this week, so it's an easy week to kind of not use him. Just throw Cueto against Detroit and get away with it. But then maybe the following week we see some Yuri Perez. Anyways, interesting transition. We were talking Emmet Sheehan there. You brought up Yuri Perez. Let's stay on Yuri Perez's team and talk Braxton Garrett, who's on the 3 down. A meager July with a 7.85 ERA in 4 starts, 2.5 homer 9. And like Keller, he's seen a big surge, 1.1 homer 9 in his first 82 innings. But I will point out, he had a 0.7 homer 9 in 77 innings, and then the 4 homers in the 10 ERA earned run dud for Garrett kind of skews his numbers. Here's the interesting thing. So bottom line, rough July, homers way up. He hasn't topped 90 pitches all year, and that really surprised me when I saw that about Braxton Garrett. I had somebody, I want to say my chat, my Fangraphs chat, point out that he was managed like this a while ago, which once I saw that, I was like, okay, yeah, I mean, they're 100% right. I didn't realize that. But isn't that crazy that he hasn't topped 90 pitches? And now he's really living on that 5 and dive wire, and it's causing some trouble for Braxton Garrett. Do you have concerns about him on the heels of his meager July?
It's not really a meager July. It's one really bad start. Like it's
all
3 home runs in 3
bad.
innings.
It really is a meager July. Now, if you want to say skills aren't because he only has 1 walk, sure. But these are all bad starts as far as ERA.
Like, and he's got a 374 FIP and a 384 xFIP. If you don't include the Colorado start. So like, I'm not super worried about this. He's just been so good that there was going to have to be a little bit of regression, but he still pitches one of the best parks in baseball for a team who's actually competitive, surprisingly, this year.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not super worried
Detroit.
about Braxton Garrett. Yeah.
I'm not really either. That 90 pitch thing gives me a little pause though. And then the K's kind of evaporated after a nice little surge because he was really good after the 11 and running. I said 10, by the way. After that, he really went on a run. 9 starts of a 2.50 ERA with 68 Ks in 50 innings. And I guess now there's just been some give back. Boston, St. Louis, Philly, Baltimore, Colorado are the 5 starts. 4 of those, I would say the offenses are pretty good. Boston, St. Louis, Philly, and Baltimore. Baltimore was in Baltimore, so you have part of the field that's not bad to pitch in. The other part can be a little tough. And then Colorado at home, he should have done better there, and he kind of botched that one. But that is the three of the 5 homers during July. So your general point about his core skills for Braxton Garrett being good, I grant that because that is absolutely true. And I'm not recommending moving off of him or anything. The 90 pitch thing is kind of a bummer, though, because anytime he gives up 3 runs, he can be in trouble because he has to stretch to even get 6 innings.
Yeah, but I mean, even with that, he's just so efficient start to start. I mean, he only has 1 start this year where he's got more than 2 walks. He had a 3-walk outing in Colorado where we know the ball doesn't move like it does at sea level, right?
And he survived.
So you can excuse that. Like, even his bad starts aren't going to be like Michael Kopech bad starts or Lance Lynn bad starts. Like I said,
he had one, but
murdering me.
That was against Atlanta, and he kind of wore it. Like they kind of just let him.
Yeah, that was just cruelty, like by his his coaches. Like that.
He gave up 7 in the second, 1 in the third. Scoreless 4th, came out for the 5th. They were like, oh, we can maybe get 5 out of him. And he gave up 5 more.
Yeah.
And that's where he really got. Well, he didn't give up all 5 of those. That would have been 8. 3 of those went to him. So, yeah, Braxton Garrett, we're not buckling at all. We're fully with him, starting him everywhere. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Let's talk about some surprising hitter ranks. So we're going to look at them on the Razzball Player Rater, and I'm going to quiz you on where they're at and then blow your mind.
All right. I'm not even going to look at my computer. I'm going to do this all off the top of my head. Here we go.
Alejandro Kirk, where's he at amongst catchers?
I'm gonna say he is 21st amongst catchers.
32nd. 4 homers, 251 average, 24 ribbies, 16 runs.
Yeah.
16 runs. Oh my God, that is so bad. Now, we talked a bit about Alejandro Kirk in passing here and there throughout the year. I think we talked about him on a Are You Dropping These Catchers episode a while ago when there was a big catcher infusion. Where are you holding Alejandro Kirk at this point? Let's just break it down like that, since I think it'll be a shorter list.
15 team 2 catcher league, I think, is the only place you're holding him.
That's it, right?
Yeah. And I mean, even there, you can try to, like pick up. I picked up David Fry in a league because at least Fry steals some bases, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm getting some cheap stolen bases from my the second catcher spot. But yeah, at this point, like, it's a bummer because I mean, I love Kirk coming in the year. I've got him in a number of places.
I did too.
And yeah, he's just been awful. And I know Danny Jansen got hit by a pitch over the weekend, but the X-rays came back negative. So he's going to continue to eat that time. Brandon Belt's hitting well. So Brandon Belt's going to continue to eat all the time at DH. Kirk isn't going to get the opportunities to turn things around, even if he could, just from a straight skills perspective.
Yeah, and because Danny Jansen's also a better catcher behind the dish too, so
much better.
That adds to his appeal without a doubt. 16 runs is just flooring me, dude. On Kirk's total there. That's a nightmare. I agree with you. 15 team, 2 catchers, only spot I'm holding him. Where's Cody Bellinger ranked amongst first basemen?
I'm gonna say he's 7th.
Oh, you nailed it.
Nice.
It only took you to number 2, and you absolutely stone cold nailed it. Cody Bellinger sitting 7th among first basemen, also carries that outfield eligibility. Hey, the people that were in on him hoping for the scenery change, it's panned out. 14 homers, 12 steals, Justin pointing to himself. 319 average in 68 games, obviously missed some time, but when playing, he's been fantastic. Here's the question. Does he stay in Chicago by the time the deadline is done?
No, he's not going to be in Chicago. I think he ends up like in Houston.
Oh my God, that would be
play. It's a lot of it's going to depend on like his health, right? Like he's been playing first base because he's been dealing with some health issues, and so do teams want to take on that health risk if they can't play him at first base? Because you're not playing him at first base in Houston.
He's still playing some center though. Like they might feel like we can still get him in the out because Houston outfield would be perfect for him.
Yeah. So Bellinger. I mean, if he can man center field in Houston, it may screw Chas McCormick. People who are rostering.
Who's been playing very well, by the way.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I think he is one of the most likely guys in Chicago to get traded. He's on a 1-year deal. There's a pillow contract. They're not competitive. They want to get something back for him.
And
so
he's been amazing. This is a 145 OPS plus for Bellinger. You cash this chip in, they're going to get something legitimate. This is not going to be a garbage deal, in my opinion.
And I mean, center fielders go for a lot, right? Like, I
mean,
there aren't a ton of good offensive center fielders that are going to be available. So
it's a great call. Let's stay on the high end. Where's Bryson Stott ranked among second basemen?
Oh, okay. Bryson Stott, I think, is going to be the, let's say the 11th second baseman.
I was wondering if you'd double up because he is indeed 7th again.
Oh,
at second base.
I wanted to go single digits, but I just felt like that was too high for Bryson Stott. But I should have. Yeah.
I think part of it too is the lack of greatness at second base has helped. It's a big glob of just kind of sameness, and he's been able to stand out with 9 homers, 19 steals, a 304 average, 36 ribbies, and 48 runs. That's been a really nice metric for Bryson Stott as well. He's kind of having the breakout. I feel like it's been quiet. I feel like Bryson Stott is not getting the love that he deserves for what he's been doing this year. How do you feel about the 25-year-old's breakout, and are you in on him as a long-term piece? Bryson Stott.
I mean, he's one of those guys that had kind of the, just above average speed that I think has really benefited from, the new rules in terms of larger bases and pitchers not being able to throw over and things like that. I wonder as the position starts to thicken up, as it will inevitably do, like if he just drops because of that, right? Like, And if I remember correctly, and like I said, I'm not looking at my computer for answers. Hasn't he been platooned a lot? Like, doesn't he sit a lot versus
Let's see here.
lefties? I want to say.
He's got 26 starts against a lefty starter, 51 games in all. Obviously, relief appearances there. I think he's playing pretty consistently,
Okay.
Bryson Stott. I think he has avoided that. Now, maybe that is a situation where they don't have a choice type of deal.
Mm-hmm.
But let me see against lefties recently if Bryson Stott is falling out of the lineup. Okay, I think you might be right here. So,
Okay.
looking at the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 games against lefties, Stott's only started 3, so you're dead on.
Yeah. Okay.
He is
So
indeed platooning.
I don't necessarily think he should platoon, but they are platooning him against lefties. So that definitely helps cap kind of his ceiling a little bit. So I don't know that he can keep that top 10 ranking long term, but
Statistically, he should not.
Yeah.
782 against righties, 786 against lefties, and it's not just some crazy BABIP. 349 is high and good against lefties, but it's 338 against righties. So he's not holding like a 420 BABIP against lefties that's driving him. So this is kind of interesting that Stott is getting platooned. You nailed it there, but I think they're doing it wrong with that.
Makes a lot of zone contact. Shout out to Rob DiPietro. This is his dude from last year. And I think he was still on him this year. And he was a guy I didn't even know anything about coming into last year. So, yeah, big props to Rob on the Bryson Stott call. Yeah, I do think he probably falls outside of the top 10 at second base, especially if things thicken up next year. But enjoy the hell out of the ride right now because he's second and shortstop eligible, and he's kind of contributing in all categories right now.
Yeah, Bryson Stott's been fantastic, and even with those platoon issues, right now I wouldn't worry about it too much at all. Let's talk Jordan Walker over at third base. Where does he rank?
Oh, he's actually going to rank fairly decently. I'm going to say he is 13th.
I thought you might be fooled by that one. He is.
Oh no,
39th.
It's because he doesn't have the plate appearances.
There's a lot of volume issue.
Yeah.
There. 237 plate appearances, 9 homers, 4 steals, 4 for 8 on the bases. So not good. But most leagues only care about the 4 steals, not the net steals. 276, 338, 442 slash line for Jordan Walker. Now, we were big on him. We were saying if he plays all year, he's an absolute god. He's not been an absolute god, but he certainly hasn't been bad either. That's a 112 OPS plus for Jordan Walker. So he's been 12% better than league average. Volume is a part of why he isn't ranked as high as you thought. 117 WRC plus, by the way, too. So a little bit higher there. What do we think about Jordan Walker? 237 plate appearances into his career. Do we think we were too overzealous, or is it just that volume where if he had a full allotment of plate appearances, you'd feel a lot better about him? What do you stand on Jordan Walker?
Yeah, I think if he had a full allotment of plate appearances, we'd be feeling a lot better. I mean, he hits the ball extremely hard. He makes league average zone contact, which was one of the things people were afraid of. Is he going to swing and miss too much in the zone? That has not really been an issue for him. The numbers look really good. It's just he's not getting the volume. Now we'll see what St. Louis does at the deadline, and maybe they open up some more, and he's kind of a big second half guy. But I'm not worried about the current or future prospects for Jordan Walker. I haven't dropped him in any leagues, and I'm continuing to kind of roll him out there, expecting him to really turn it on as soon as he gets kind of that full run of plate appearances.
Yeah, it hasn't been a slam dunk breakout. This guy was amazing for Jordan Walker, but I'm pretty undeterred by him, and eager to see how these last 2+ months play out. I find myself likely still drafting him next year unless he just surges like crazy and the price gets out of control or something. Yeah. What about Nico Hoerner over at shortstop for the Cubs?
Oh, I think Nico Hoerner is a top 5. I'm going to say 5th shortstop.
You're close, but he's only 8th. Also second and short eligible. 9th at shortstop's Bryson Stott, so they're right by each other. These two, they rank 6, 7 at second, 8, 9 at short. Nico Hoerner, I talked about him earlier in the year. It's been a while since we've really brought him up on the show, but this was a guy that I had no real feeling on. He was like kind of neutral for me. I just kind of put him in my rankings right around where he was going. Didn't really deep dive him, and I feel like I missed the boat a little bit. 6 homers, 22 steals, 22 steals after having 20 all of last year. So he's taken advantage of the rules. This is in 98 fewer plate appearances that he has 2 more steals. 6 homers, not ripping the ball, ripping the cover off the ball with power, but 6 homers in 419 plate appearances with a 273 average. I can certainly live with that, especially as a top 10 shortstop. Nico Hoerner's been very nice. And he still has a chance to keep the double eligibility next year because he's only 2 games away from shortstop eligibility for next year with 18 games. What do you think of Nico Hoerner's kind of building on his breakout year? The interesting thing I will say before you answer is it's actually been more of a fantasy thing than a real life because his OPS plus is down from 105 to 92, but the fantasy production has been great. So what do you think of Nico Hoerner?
Yeah, I mean, when I was looking at what to do kind of strategically coming into 2023, I didn't think anybody had a really good grasp of exactly what was going to happen with all these rule changes, right? We had general, estimations, and there were a lot of hypotheses on which guys were going to really benefit from the rule change, which guys weren't. For me, because this was very similar to 2020 and the 2021 coming off the 2020 season in terms of we have no historical basis for these kind of rule changes. All these rule changes together in the same year. I wanted to focus on skills, and what Nico Hoerner does at the plate is not something you can fake. He's got elite zone contact ability. He's got the 5th highest zone contact in all of baseball, 94.7%. And he can run. Like, we knew that he could run last year. Now it's going to be easier to run. Okay, you're going to get a ton of stolen bases. You're going to get a good batting average. We didn't know how good the Cubs were going to be, but we knew he was going to hit towards the top of that lineup. And he's kind of produced exactly what I thought he was going to. And so my only regret is that he was dealing with some sort of, minor injury, like a quad injury or something like that, while we were in Vegas, because the only places I didn't get him are my main event or my auction, and I would have loved to get him there.
So Nico was the 9th drafted second baseman, but just to tell you the difference in disparity between the two positions, the 19th drafted shortstop at pick 142. So there were so many shortstops going there. But yeah, I've been really impressed. And I mentioned that early in the year, I was watching a ton of Cubs games because I was trying to make Hayden Wesneski a thing by willing it into existence, and also enjoying some Justin Steele starts. And that's when I kind of took notice of him. I was like, this guy's pretty damn good. And I like Nico Hoerner. So I've jumped on the train late. I don't really have him anywhere. I use him in DFS on occasion. But I missed the boat on him this year just by not giving him a deep enough look. So he's been really good. Let's go to the outfield. I got 2 guys for the outfield, 1 up, 1 down. Lane Thomas, where's he rank?
Oh, this is going to be the up one.
Definitely.
He is going to be like 14th. Like it's going to be ridiculously high.
It's even higher.
Oh God,
8th.
Oh,
because Lane Thomas, dude, I'm a year early and I'm so pissed. I would not shut the hell up about Lane Thomas last year, and he was mediocre as hell, and it took till the second half of the season too. Meanwhile, 16 homers, 12 steals, 295 average. He's been amazing.
Yeah.
What do you think of Lane Thomas going forward?
I don't even know what to think of him. Like, let me bring up some numbers on him, because like he's so hidden in Washington. Like, Washington is so bad. Like, you don't pay attention to the guys who are doing well. As the guys like Lane Thomas and Heimer Candelario, who are having really good years, like, you don't really even pay attention to it too much. I mean, he's making really great zone contact. He doesn't hit the ball particularly hard, though. I mean, you're talking about like a 39% hard hit percentage. I feel like this is one of those situations that it could dry up pretty quickly.
You think it'll dry up this year?
Not necessarily. He's not a guy you're depending on a ton of power for. So like maybe the power isn't very good rest of the way. He's running a .494 slugging percentage, but his X slug is .412. He's running a 295 average, but his XBA is 253. So like, I think he comes back down to earth, but I don't think he completely falls off because he's going to play every day. It's in Washington, right? The question is, do the Nationals, try to trade him even though he's got years of control because he's cheap and got years of control and they can get more back from him? I just don't know. There's a lot of teams that are seeking a guy like Lane Thomas and want to give up very much for him. So, I mean, you kind of want him to stay in Washington because he's going to play every day. If he ends up in, Texas, is he going to play every day? I think he could.
Yeah.
He could end up.
That's a fair question to ask.
Yeah, I mean, I think he could end up platooning or just sharing the role with someone. I mean, he is much better against lefties, and 368 against lefties and 261 against righties. So, and it would be on short side platoon. So you're kind of hoping he doesn't get moved. I don't know that they will.
I don't think they will. Lane Thomas is 27. That's not old. Just keep him. I don't think they're gonna get a mint for him. Like, no one's gonna pay some crazy price. So just hang on, ride this out. And same with fantasy, folks. I think you just ride this out. You paid so cheap for him. He's already paid dividends. I really like where Lane Thomas is at.
Yeah, I think you just enjoy the fact you've gotten what you've gotten from him at this point.
Absolutely.
I don't think it's going to be nearly as great the rest of the way or next season, but I think he's going to be fine. I think he will just continue to accumulate.
Okay, yeah, I think that's the right way to play it, and I don't think Washington will take him. Our other one down. I hate that this is the down one, but I got to bring it up. Lars Nootbaar, where do you think he's ranking?
I'm going to say he's 43rd.
I wish, dude. 74th. 7 homers, 7 steals, 28 ribbies, 46 runs with a 261 average. Yeah. The 28 ribbies, I think, is playing a big role there with Nootbaar because that is such a tiny number, and that's causing a big issue. But only 7 homers as well, so he's down there with a bunch of guys that give you some indigestion, like Trent Grisham. I know Dalton Varshaw's causing people some issues right now. I loved Newt coming into the year. I saw more power than this. It hasn't come to fruition. Did we just overestimate him, or has it just been kind of an up and down year with Lars Nootbaar? Where do you stand?
I think it's a little bit of both. I think part of it is like he's had kind of inconsistent playing time. He's missed a little bit of time with injury. What we just talked about with Jordan Walker in terms of the outfield is just stacked, and like they just,
oh my god, yes,
they have to figure out ways to get guys like Dylan Carlson in because while Dylan Carlson's not a good player or anything, like you're not holding him on the roster just to be a bench guy. So I wonder if again like a Tyler O'Neill trade opens things up. You've got to think like when he came back from the IL and they went, oh, Tyler O'Neill's going to play every day. You had to like in your mind just go, this is an audition, right? This is like they're hoping he goes on a tear, for the last 100%. Week before the All-Star breaks that way, or the trade deadline, so that way they can move him for something, of value, right? Because there's no way Tyler O'Neill is in Cardinals red come August 2nd, right?
Can't be, right? Can't be.
Like,
can't
get
be.
Something.
They hate his guts.
Yeah, they can't stand that guy.
Mott-like intensity. And
yeah,
since it is the Cardinals, we can go back to the Mott-like intensity. Here's the thing. Nootbaar plays all the time. He's not the one who really gets sat. Occasional lefties, but they are staying committed to him. He's not holding up his end of the bargain. So, like I said, I was big on him. Really loved what he did last year. This has been a miss. I think it's going to remain a miss. I doubt he's going to have a huge surge down the stretch. I still think you're keeping him in 15s, which is where I was really going for Lars Nootbaar. But I think in 10s, you can easily move on. 12s, I think you can move on, and I wouldn't question it, right? There's a lot of guys in 12s that you would go for over Nootbaar.
Yeah, I'm just looking up something real quick. Okay, yeah, that sucks. His ground ball percentage is what's killing him.
That's exactly it.
Like and I was hoping like I was looking at the monthly splits and hoping maybe it like started off bad and it's getting better. It's not getting better. 52% for July. So Yeah, I think you can. I mean, I'm holding on to him where I've got him, but that's because it's 15 team leagues, and you're
Exactly.
not going to find much on the wire that is a full time player. At this point, he volumes his way into having some value in deeper formats, but in your shallower formats, yeah, you should probably be looking somewhere else.
Couldn't agree more on Lars Nootbaar. We're holding him in our deeper leagues. Other leagues, you're moving on. Those are some surprising hitter rankings on the high and low sides there, Justin. We got to get going. Trade deadline's going to be coming up soon. Hopefully, we get some trades going this week. I'd love to come on Friday and have 2, 3, 4 trades to talk about. I don't know if it's
Yeah.
going to happen because teams like to drag their feet. And with the way the standings can move, I kind of get it for some of these teams that are like right there, where if they go 5-0 in their next 5, they're going to buy. If they go 1-4, they're selling. So
Yeah.
it is tenuous there. But we'll talk on Friday and have a good week.
Take it easy.